Hey guys, Jules here for WhatCulture.com, back again with another episode of the most insane things happening in wrestling right now. The show that does exactly what it says on the tin in the most annoying way possible. You are very welcome. Now this week has seen some very odd moments, both in the ring and out, and as always I'm here to help recap at the end of the week for you. But before we do, I wanted to return the favour from last week's episode. At the beginning I mentioned about treating yourself well, both mentally and physically, and I hope that you're still doing that. Remember, just because we're watching people beat the piss out of each other in the ring, doesn't mean that we're not a family here. Stay safe, you've got this. And I've got to get on with the show, so let's crack on and hit that intro. We begin by talking about a pair of outstanding wrestlers who've unfortunately come up against quite a lot of trials in their time in the WWE, the Revival. 2019 should have been their year, what with the company announcing that things were going to change for talent for the better. This, as you can tell from the fact that it's on this show, hasn't happened yet, as despite asking for their release last week on Raw, appeared this week to challenge for the Tag Team Championship titles. They unfortunately lost, cementing them as bottom rung and floundering, but there was someone in that ring who actually showed a massive career advancement, so much so that they might actually be the best in their field right now, and that is none other than Curt Hawkins. Now, Hawkins donned the white and black as the guest referee from the match, and you know what? He was actually amazing. He caught the Revival cheating on numerous occasions and managed to actually act like a referee worth his salt. And at the end, he got an albeit mild pop as he was saved by Zack Ryder, possibly hinting that he's going to reform the Major Brothers. This might not mean much to many, but this would certainly be an upswing for the man on a constant losing streak. And it suddenly dawns on you that the Revival might have been the wrong horse to back in this new era of change, and it might actually be the Dork and the Hawk that are going to be the ones to watch. Woo woo woo. Maybe? The Revival though, am I right?
When have civil rights been used in the wrong way?
Oh God, Phil, I tell you what, it's almost like bursting my brain with how clever you are, but I'm glad that it hasn't, because I didn't want to blind people with how bold I actually am underneath this.
Yeah, no one
And
wants.
also, it's when Seth Rollins uses it to bump himself as a baby face. Sorry, I cut you off there.
It's okay. Do you like my jumper?
It's actually lush, actually. It's really cool. I like that you've got a planet on your elbow.
Yeah.
Now, Seth Rollins had the following to say on Monday Night's Raw. One thing I saw today, one quote that really stuck with me. Dr. King said, "The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands during times of comfort and convenience, but where he stands during times of challenge and controversy." These are fine words, words that should resonate within us all, words where the WWE probably should have stopped at, but unfortunately, Seth continued. "My whole life has been a long shot," Rollins went on to say. "I'm not your stereotypical WWE star." Oh dear, Seth, honey baby, you were the chosen pet project of Triple H in both backstage and storyline. You're offered big opportunities from the off and earmarked as a future main eventer. You are most definitely the stereotypical WWE star. If the choices of words weren't strange enough, then consider that this speech came at the tail end of three men for whom these words might have actually been more appropriate and considered. I'm not saying that Seth hasn't struggled, but maybe using the words of Martin Luther King Jr. to compare a working class background to the racial struggles of millions of African Americans might not have been the most tactful decision by the WWE. At the current count, it also means that the WWE have used leukemia and the civil rights movement to try and get Seth over as a babyface, which he already was, and people already love him just fine. What I'm trying to say is, it was a strange segment indeed. Hey, do you want to die? Several times? Then you should probably have just watched the Moment of Bliss segment again on Raw. Jesus H. Christ, this was insanely bad on so many levels. Body-shaming bully and victim Alexa and Nia Jax exchanged vapid smiles as if nothing else mattered. It was like this, it was like, "You called me a disgusting pig. Yes, but you are also now a heel. Oh yes, nice outfit." Alexa did make mention of the fact that she and Nia were once the worst of enemies, but that was, what, 8 months ago? Ancient history, am I right? But before Nia had the chance to smack her lips and probably every other female talent on the roster, she was thankfully interrupted by Ember Moon and then a cavalcade of women from the locker room, all vying for some screen time. Now, shout out to Alicia Fox for delivering one of the worst lines in the entire segment. "I tell you, if she is a captain, she is sailing the bloody Titanic." This, plus the absolute arse factory that was last week's moment of bliss, are taking something truly amazing, aka Alexa Bliss herself, and turning her whole badder than bad shtick into a joke. She was once the best reason to tune into Raw for the women's division, and now she's just a sideline chick trying to squawk over other hens. And if that last sentence seemed debasing, that is exactly what this moment of pish became. AJ Styles had a pop at the shave community this week when he discussed on Steven Crowder's podcast the recent and controversial marketing campaign that Gillette is running at the moment. Now, for those of you who've not seen it, the company asked if we're really the best men can get or if we're actually just toxically masculine. As you can imagine, this has brought out some great conversations and some utter tripe ones. Everyone is entitled to their own opinions, and AJ had some to share as well. And his problem with the advert was that he just didn't understand what the problem the advert was highlighting actually was. Now, AJ is a guy set in his ways, he loves his family, yada yada yada, but he totally missed the point of mansplaining being shown in this video by asking about what the woman in the ad had said right before the bloke in the advert had put his hand on his shoulders and just taken charge for her. What did she say before? Maybe he was sticking up for her, said Styles on the podcast, completely missing the point of the advert entirely. It was a moment that probably required a hand to be put on his shoulder in order to explain the situation to him, although he probably would have hated that. Anyway, a lovely bit of irony for you there, and also, AJ Styles misunderstanding and manhandling and straining to understand explaining. Are you having a giraffe? Thank you, thank you, thank you. Welcome to Working Stiff, where I read out the WWE Universe's erotic fan fiction for you. This comes courtesy of real Tyrese Ridge, and it's called Love Hurts. Thank you. Dolph walked back to the locker room to get changed out of his wrestling attire when he ran into Randy Orton. Hey Dolph, why such a rush? Randy, I was hoping to run into Cody, Dolph said while walking away slowly. Dolph, you're too man for Cody. You need someone like me. Randy, I asked you out 4 times already, Dolph said with tears, making them light blue eyes turning dark blue. That's how it's written. It's great. Dolph, I told you why our relationship wouldn't work. I have a wife and a daughter. Well, I wish you the best of luck. Now I have to go. While sprinting to the locker room, something in John Cena's locker room caught Dolph's eye. The voluptuous ass of John Cena changing with nothing but his chain on his neck. Dolph was instantly mesmerized. Isn't that just the work of God? Zack Ryder said while rubbing his cock. I never knew how hot John was. Dolph got so excited to see that body, his cock got rock hard. Dolph blacked out and busted into John Cena's locker room. Dolph, what the are you doing in here? Hey John, I was just saying hi. And we'll continue that next week. Now I'm gonna let you all in on a little secret. Don't ever go after Vince Russo. It's what he wants for a start because you're giving him attention. And if we starved him of it, then the bro might go. Also, his fan base is quite rabid and will leap on any negativity thrown at him like a pack of horny dogs. All this stems from Russo believing that he was never, ever wrong in his creative blunders. That somehow the weakest moments were actually his strengths. And even when he confesses for some sort of tripe that he came out on WCW, he manages to turn that into a positive, much like the display he put on recently on one of his podcasts. He claimed that turning Goldberg heel was done because it was the only logical thing to do. Miscasting his top star was the only logical thing to do. Logically, it made all the sense in the world to push the green as goose shit wild cannon tank Abbott. Beaver cleavage wasn't a bad idea because according to him, it didn't happen. It didn't happen, mate, because it was a bad goddamn idea. I don't know how he's done it, but he's somehow come out of this confession with armor thicker than when he went in. And once again, I have been worked by Russo. What a swerve, am I right? Well, I'll tell you what, it makes me want to swerve off a bloody cliff. And there we go, those were the most insane things happening in wrestling this week. Thank you so much for joining me, and Phil, thank you so much for just being yourself with your lovely, lovely beard.
No problem.
But you know that I can't close the show any other way than by reading my favourite comments from last week's episode. And you might remember that in our match of the Titans, we chose Gangrel and Molly Holly. to have a match, and you guys had to fill in the blanks. And
You better have left Molly Holly alone.
well,
What have they done?
Okay.
What have they done?
I'll read out the first one, and then you read out the second one, and
Okay.
we'll close on a third one. The first one is from Kaioken Millie Rock, who said, "The arena goes dark. Molly Holly.
You can do it.
Do that again." The first one comes from Kaioken Millie Rock, who says, "The arena goes dark. Molly Holly terrified in the middle of the ring. She hears that awesome vampire music hit and appears Gangrel on the stage." I didn't write it in this way. I'm just reading it exactly as it's written. "He makes his way towards the ring, and as he enters the ring, Molly grabs the mic. She pleads for her cousins Crash and Hardcore Holly to come, but Gangrel laughs as the arena goes dark. When the lights come back on, it's none other than Edge and Christian. The Brood is back. Only it's not Edge and Christian. Instead, Gangrel has turned Crash and Hardcore Holly into vampires and restored the Brood."
What a twist.
I know, right? Molly Holly runs away in fear. Gangrel wins by default. Crash and Gangrel spit blood into the air, and Hardcore Holly stares into the camera because he's so fun. Look how fun Hardcore Holly is. That was I chose that specifically just for that last line of like Bob Holly. I'm very fun, guys.
Excellent. Okay, what have we got here? From Grim the Fang King.
Right, okay.
Gangrel has returned. Spreading like a plague, his evil is seemingly unstoppable as he turns the entire mid-card roster into his fledglings from the newest Brood.
Right, okay.
Over the course of a few weeks, we watch as he wreaks havoc upon the roster and the WWE Universe as he and his band of vampires squash everyone in their way in throwaway matches until Molly Holly shows up.
There she
and
is.
gathers together all of the women who are no longer being utilized correctly, and they form the Lost Girls.
Oh,
Nice.
that's a good twist.
All the Charmed Ones are some of the throwback TV show restaurants. I like the Lost Girls.
Yeah, the Lost Girls actually works quite
Yeah.
well.
Stick with your gut. And then they begin vanquishing the vampires in backstage segments using garlic cloves and steaks until the payoff match at a pay-per-view where Gangrel storms the arena and calls upon his brood who surround him in the ring. But just after the bell rings, we all realize something isn't right.
Yeah.
The garlic and steaks have returned the roster to their former selves, and they turn on Gangrel, beating him mercilessly until Molly hits the Molly go round,
Yep.
her finisher. Come on, as if you don't know Molly Holly's finisher. And gets the pin.
Right, now, the best thing about that is it leans so heavily into the sort of silliness of vampires.
Yeah.
It's like, but they're all back to normal, guys. They're all back to, they're not
Right.
dead, it's fine.
They're fixed.
And we close with Mr. Spiffy, who says, "Gangrel returns to the ring, now sporting his PWO shirt." That stands for Porn World Order.
Of course.
He uses the hypnotic powers to seduce Bailey into the Porn World Order. Molly arrives to save the virtues of Bailey before it's too late. Molly versus Gangrel is set for WrestleMania.
Wow.
I know, right? It's got a big
Grandest stage of them all, why not?
If Molly wins, Bailey goes free. If Gangrel wins, Molly must headline PWO's next feature video, which Gangrel has titled Molly Goes Around. Gangrel dominates most of the match, lasting about 6 minutes. The ref takes a bump. Gangrel is about to hit the impaler on Molly when the lights go out. When they come back up, the Hurricane is in the ring. He chokeslams Gangrel. Molly goes and hits the Molly go round for the win after a slow Hebner-esque count. I love that they added that bit in there. Hurricane puts a cape around Molly's shoulders and Mighty Molly rises again.
Love it.
How brilliant is that?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for writing those ones in. I would like to do a show dedicated to doing these because they do take up quite a lot of time. But we are going to be doing another one for next week, and I'm going to choose the Big Boss Man.
Nice. Well, in honour, this actually kind of works out quite well because I was going to
Yeah.
do this guy anyway.
Okay.
In honour of the nicest guy in the world, Simon Miller, I'm going to choose Repo Man.
Oh, that's actually a great combination. So yeah, you guys choose the match stipulation and what happens, and we'll read out the best ones on next week's episode. But until then, thank you so much for watching. You can follow me at RetroJ with a 0 over on Twitter, and
At Fill My Chambers.
you have been awesome. Never forget that, and we'll see you next week. Bye!
Bye.
Oh, I forgot to thank Michael Sidgwick.
Keep
Thanks,
waving.
thanks, Michael Sidgwick. How long do we...
I don't know.
Is this just to fill time in case it doesn't hit 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right.